The three-day Policing Indaba that was held in Boksburg earlier this week is aimed at reshaping the landscape of law enforcement. POPCU President Zizamele Makaza opened this year's Indaba. Makaza says the quarterly crime stats are alarming and not an accurate account of crimes. We unpack some of the concerns regarding policing systems now with Mpho Kwinika, General Secretary of the Independent Policing Union of South Africa. Kwinika, I appreciate your time this evening. Now, can you elaborate on the specific flaws and issues you've identified in the data collection methods used for crime stats in South Africa?
Look, we, as the Independent Policing Union of South Africa, do trust the stats that are being released because there are other departments that are involved in moderating them, like Stats SA. The only thing that we believe it is the reality here is that the public are no longer reporting crime because of the trust relationship between the SAPS and themselves. So what we are going to see, it will be the crime stats which seems to be showing some signs of decrease, whereas the reality is that there is more crime that remains unreported on the ground, which makes South Africans feel that they are under siege from the criminals.
Now, what we understand when you look at stats, certainly around gender-based violence that are issued, is that it's only a fraction of those that are actually victims of gender-based violence that report these cases. So just how much crime goes unreported?
Look, we have been reading or making research from the documentations or materials that are available that almost 51% of crime that is being reported, it's reported by communities who still have, that little faith of coming towards or little faith of coming to police institutions to report crime. But we are also learning that those figures are even dropping. This year alone, only 50% of South Africans are reporting those crimes.
So why do they not have trust in the police service?
Well, the incapacity of the South African police service to fight crime due to various reasons, which one of them it is the resources. I think this issue of manpower and vehicles, political interferences, inconsistencies when it comes to the application of strategies of leadership which comes into the office. When the other one leaves, they abandon the strategies which have been put in place. They start other strategies. While they are on their way, towards finishing their years, their term of office, they are dumped out of the system and those strategies which they've already implemented before they could even yield any results. So there's lots of issues that are attributes to the policing capacities which makes the public not to trust them.
Kwinika, you seem to not be shouldering any of the blame or the blame of some of your members. I mean, all you're suggesting is that it's about the police force. But you don't speak about issues around Mpho Kwinika's announcement recently on the number of police that are involved in crime, that are getting caught up in fraud and similar. Is this not a contributor? Countless times when we hear about the numbers of women who report cases of gender-based violence is the interrogation around a victim being interrogated by the police when they're coming to report a case. Does that not contribute to individuals and the general citizenry not being prepared to report their cases?
It is true that we need to professionalize the service. We need to have people who have the will to serve South Africans. We need to have police officers who understands or who will understand that this is not a job but a calling. Yes, incidents such as the one that took place in Mpumalanga between the flying squad vehicle and the provincial organized crime chase that took place, along the N4, that has left South Africans baffled by the role of some of our own who are contributing towards crime. You will also recall that that vehicle had, rifles, ammunition, and even explosives. That is very sad. But that must be seen to be the problem of intake. When you recruit, you have to make sure that you have a proper background checks on people who comes into the system. So that remains the management system, the management responsibility to make sure that the people who enter this environment are people who are fit and proper to serve South Africans.
So a few weeks ago, we were exposed to members of the Blue Light Brigade, as they are called, who accosted and assaulted civilians on the streets of, on the highway of Johannesburg. Is this not a further contributory factor? And what is your reaction to this event?
IPUSA is concerned about the issue of litigations. I think each and every year in our annual performance plan, you will see that South African Police Service is paying the public for unlawful arrests and detentions, monies to the amount of about R500 million every year. And that tells you that there is something very wrong which is taking place in the South African Police Service. The members, Portfolio Committee last week, the Portfolio Committee on Police, members have been complaining. They were saying the police force is very angry. The members look very upset. Yes, there are a lot of attributes which makes police officers to behave sometimes in the manner at which those police officers have reacted to that incident, which we really do not condone at all. But management of the South African Police Service need to understand that the members are angry because there are no promotions. They are angry because there's no promotion policy. Those who are angry and leave the service because of the poor or the lack of the retention strategy that the police has. So we've got a variety of issues, and even the issue of dispute resolution mechanism. IPUSA requested Portfolio Committee to ask the SAPS to give them the numbers of police officers who are fighting with the management within the service. And those numbers could only be traced from the SSBC. Unfortunately, the SSBC has been collapsed on the 31st of May because of failure to resolve the disputes between the management and the members of the SAPS. So yes, there are a lot of problems internally, and those problems are even contributing to making police officers look like angry people and not serve South Africans the way they are supposed to service them.
Now, I'm sure it's something that brings you immense worry is the issue of police officers being killed. It's got to be of great concern. We heard from Police Minister Mpho Kwinika announcing that I think between 30 and 33 police officers were killed in the last quarter.
This is a very worrying factor as well because, you see, government is not doing enough to protect police officers because it cannot be true that you have a country such as this one, which is not at war with anyone other than to fight crime. You'll find that even the people, let alone the issue of the numbers of the police officers that are being killed, criminals in this country are merciless. They are killing South Africans. They are killing the state machinery that has been established to ensure safety and security to all inhabitants in this country. If you look at the numbers of people that are killed in this country, there are more than people who are killed in the war between Russia and Ukraine. It cannot be that our men and women in blue who have taken an oath of office to serve the interests of the state and its citizenry, when they are busy doing their job, they are being killed. So South Africans and government need to do more to protect the lives of these people.
Now, I want to take you back to the issue of the Zama Zamas, which was of great concern certainly a few days ago. and an entire Indaba was held around it. Now, the Zama Zamas are said to have said to the South African Police Service, we don't fear you. In fact, they actually exchanged fire with the police. Now, that shows almost a brazen attitude to dealing with law enforcement. What message does this send when criminals publicly challenge the police force? Does it suggest that the police force is maybe not weak or not feared by criminals?
What we need to do is to try and deal with the issue of the use of force when effecting a lawful arrest. And I think the Minister of Police needs to source more money to make sure that our policemen and women they go through these refresher courses, because it is almost, there are police officers who haven't been to shooting ranges for almost 3 years. And it cannot be that in a country like this one, which is faced with this daunted task, that you don't have a police force that is readily available to fight or to mitigate challenges such as those ones that are directed at them by these criminals.
So if you're
yesterday,
sorry, Dad, if you're continually in the line of fire and you do not go to the shooting range in a period of 3 years, I'd like to imagine that you are putting your life at risk by going out, even though you're armed, and dealing with these criminals who, for all intents and purposes, are not only heavily armed, but I'm sure are practicing in their own time. Does this concern you?
The police officials are utilizing private shooting ranges to empower themselves. You know, I remember I've been doing this for as long as, I think, 15 years, that I have to go back and pay at the shooting range. The police are not providing those things anymore because of the budgetary constraints. But I'm raising this issue because just yesterday, we have lost, at 10:40, we have lost 2 police officers at the in Northern Cape who have been murdered by a criminal who stole a vehicle in Bloemfontein en route to Kimberley. And the gun that was used was not a criminal's gun. It was the gun that was taken away from the police officers when they were overpowered by this man. It's a rifle that has been used to kill both of them. I think this is the problem and the challenges the South African police management and the leadership, the political leadership, should really take it very seriously and make money available for police officers to continuously undergo refresher courses. And we as the union also want to take this opportunity and say to those police officers who have got guns with them, not to die with those tools in their holsters. They must utilize those firearms, and that the police must provide legal support for those police officers who have not forfeited any state protection.
So what conversations as a union are you having with Bheki and the leadership in the police force around these numerous issues? Because there are many.
You see, these are the challenges. The leadership of the South African Police Service must be prepared to speak to anyone who has got keen interest in policing. The Minister of Police must also have keen interest to speak to anyone who has got keen interest in policing. You know, for them to close their doors when people are knocking at their doors and said, please let us discuss these issues. I mean, look, Pop Crew decided to have their own workshop, to have their own an Indaba to discuss these issues, which are worrying to South Africans. But there's something that is supposed to be done by government itself. The government is doing absolutely nothing to show South Africans that they are really doing something to protect their lives, to protect their property, to protect their assets, to protect their natural resources. And this is going to make, just to mention this point, you see the contact between the community and South African government is now in doubt because we are unable to provide them with the security and the protection that they need.
Do we have the right leadership leading the police force?
Well, for now, we see the Minister of Police responding to all operational issues and even talking to operational issues, where we are supposed to be seeing the Minister, the National Commissioner of Police, talking to operational issues. I think these are political issues which the government needs to look at and say, is this the role of the minister, to deal with? Or these are the issues of the National Commissioner of Police? Because there are a lot of problems, and we need to really say this openly to South Africans. There are problems in the South African Police Service. And the two figures that we have just mentioned are the people that are supposed to be giving relief to South Africans. You cannot be having the Minister of Police, talking to issues of a community that have lost their boots. Those are the things that are supposed to be discussed by the National Commissioner of Police and his entourage. The former president, Thabo Mbeki, if you look at the clip that is in circulation today, it's not a joke, but he's saying in each and every space where things are happening in policing, the first person to arrive there is the Minister of Police, and he's the first person to speak again on all those issues is the Minister of Police. Is that correct?
All right, that's where we're going to have to leave it. General Secretary of IPUSA, Mpho Kwinika, I appreciate your time this evening on News of Prime.